going to talk about how we can prevent problem behaviors. The very, very basics of what we can do to avoid our dogs developing problem behaviors, and what we need to go back and maybe have a look at when we are working with dogs that already have problem behaviors. I'm Lisbeth. I'm the founder of Nordic Dog Trainer. I'm going to go through some very important basics that we need to provide for our dogs in order for them to be able to have a good life and a happy life and with no problem behaviors for us. And when I say problem behavior, let's see if I can come up with any examples. For example, barking, excessive barking, even peeing inside, or pulling the leash, or reactive on walks. Things like that. I mentioned three of the very most normal things that people come to us to get help to train. The thing is that we believe strongly, not only believe, but we also know it's true. It's from our experience that this is true. It's actually working, and we can look to science as well. Both for dogs and animals, other animals and us humans, we need to have some basics in order to function normally. So when we have a behavior consultation, a one-to-one consultation with the dog owner and the dog, we ask a lot of questions to the dog owner. We let the dog owner talk about what the problem and everything around it, what's bothering them, so on. If it's something like, everything else is fine, but the dog is jumping on visitors, or separation anxiety, the dog can't stay at home alone, then of course that might be an isolated problem that we can start training on quite immediately. But in general, these things as excessive barking and I want to say excessive energy. I don't like the word or the sound of that, but a lot of people are complaining that the dogs are too energetic. They're constantly barking or jumping or pulling on lead, and it's have a hard time relaxing. Anyhow, all these things, before we start doing any training or making a training plan, we have to find out what is the reason to that behavior. So by actually starting to understand why the dog is behaving in a certain way, we also know how we can change everyday routines. So in many cases, we don't really have to do any training as such. We just change how and what we are doing sometimes. Before, like in the 80s, it was very normal to say when a dog has a problem, you can train the problem to go away. So if the dog is barking excessively, then of course you can teach your dog, train your dog to be quiet. And there are different methods of doing that. Some of them are not very nice to the dog. Some are horrible. You have devices that gives your dog electric, what you call it, like electric collars, or even anti-barking collars. You get like a citrus spray in your face if you bark. Yes, those things will help there and then, but it won't do anything for the problem, and it's not a nice way of training your dog. I think everyone agrees in that. So the funny thing is that when we know dog behavior and what dogs need and we are able to meet those needs, those basic needs, a lot of this behavior goes away because the dog is less stressed and it has everything, mm, the needs, they are met. It's the same thing with us. So, for example, we start having some funny behavior because we are bored. Then you have to do something about why are you bored? What can you do instead? Um, yeah, let me start with the basic needs. That's what I wanted to tell you tonight. I'm starting with the very basic needs. And I know I've been talking about this before on these Facebook Lives, but I think this is such a very important topic and to understand for every dog owner that if you have these things in place and if you have read at least a book, one book about dog behavior and what they need, what their natural instincts, what their needs are, and of course how they communicate. That's the minimum we should do. It's like getting a bird or a guinea pig or something, a guinea pig. Then we need to know what are those animals and how can we provide for them in the best way possible. So the absolute basic is food and water. And you will be surprised how much nutrition or food has to do with behavior. And there's some good resources about that out there, and it's also online courses. What is it called? Dogfirst.ie in Ireland. That's a good resource for that, so you can educate yourself more about nutrition, what is good nutrition for your dog, and how that can affect behavior if you're interested in that. So fresh, clean water available at all times, 24/7. That's a given, isn't it? Hopefully. And a good balanced diet for the dog. So it's not missing anything in the diet. And of course, a healthy weight. No, that goes without saying, I think. Number 2, shelter. Obviously, also very important. Safe, comfortable living space. Safe, comfortable living space. So if you have a dog that has some fear issues or anxiety issues and don't feel safe in their own home, then we have a problem. And your dog definitely has a problem. Your dog does not feel safe. And being fearful, having anxiety, these kind of things will show in the dog's behavior. Definitely. This is some of the most common things we're working with. So you have to find out what is your dog fearful or why is your dog having anxiety and how can you help your dog to feel safer. It goes without saying that when you don't feel safe in your own home, obviously there's a lot of things that can go wrong with your nutrition, your eating habits, your sleeping patterns, everything, and everything affects health and behavior. Exercise, not only exercise itself, but the right kind of exercise for your individual dog, not your breed, but your individual dog. And that depends on the age and on the physical condition of your dog. It's a lot of variables in there. So maybe it's over exercised or exercised in the wrong way for your dog. Maybe running next to a bike on lead for too long, too often. Too much of something is not good, and too little of something is not good either. So you need to find out the best way your dog can be physically active. And that's not only going for walks, but it's other things we do physically as well. And then mentally, obviously, mental stimulation as well has to be again, according to the individual dog that you have, because that will vary throughout the dog's life as well, depending on its age. Um, and you need to find out what your dog like to do, because what you like to do makes you more happy, obviously. Also dogs, and most dogs, they are born to use their nose. They love using their nose. So any kind of activity that involves their nose is a safe bet. So finding out the the balance between the physical and mental activities. Surprisingly, sometimes we do more physical activities. How would I say that now? Sorry, this is my English. Sometimes the balance isn't correct. Okay, we do too much physical activities and too little mental activities with the dog. So you need to find the right balance between those. We need both. We need to use our brain and our body. Um, Healthcare, obviously, to make sure that your dog is healthy, doesn't have any allergies or illnesses, something you're not aware of, and if you are aware of them, to get treatment for it. Um, so that's, of course, an important one. Pain, we know that pain and discomfort is the reason for a lot of problem behavior. Um, and the next on my list is actually socialization. A lot of dogs don't have enough social interactions with other dogs. And some dogs have too much with other dogs they don't enjoy being with, or dogs they don't know well. I have done many lives about socialization, so you can go and scroll down on the recordings to see. I don't want to talk too much about it today, although I could easily do that because it's so important that you make sure that your dog have at least one other dog friend, a friend who is another dog that your dog enjoys to be with. It's not um, we cannot tell our dogs to be friends with or like other dogs just because it's convenient for us. Because my sister's dog, it would be convenient for us that our dogs likes each other. Um, some people get very surprised when they hear that dogs are like people. They don't necessarily love everyone else. So find yourself a good friend for your dog, at least one, but you don't need a lot of friends. One is enough. Two is even better, maybe. A couple of other dogs to go for walks, to do things together, not just in a dog park with a lot of dogs they don't know. That's not socializing in the sense I'm talking about now. There's a dogs they don't know. It's like you going into a party, you don't know anyone there. That's not really, the best of socializing. You socializing is probably um, going to a cafe with your friends. Same thing with dogs. They don't go to a cafe, but it's not only about walking, it's also about doing things together, like mental activities. You can do a nice enriched environment with them. You can do that in each other's gardens or inside your houses. You can have play dates like that. Play dates, now, not asking them to play as such, because that's something they do if they want to, and not all dogs do play a lot. So just play date is probably not right word for it, but a date to do something. My point is that socializing is being together with someone, doing things you like to do. So going for a nice walk, sleeping together, sniffing together, eating together, chewing together, being together, just laying down next to each other or far away from each other, just being there with someone else. So make sure your dog have a lot of good socialization. I would like to say, when people ask me, so how often? Well, as much as your dog would like to would be the ideal thing. But some socialization is better than nothing. some is always better than nothing. Then the next one is safety, a secure environment, both indoors and outdoors. Again, coming back to fearful dogs, dogs with anxiety. Imagine if you're scared of cars and you go for 3 walks a day, and every day, 3 times a day, you have to face what you're really scared of. You imagine your body is responding to that, and that's not something we can't teach a dog to be calm inside, to have lower stress level inside. We can't do that. We have to do something for it to happen. So, of course, help the dog feel safe. Uh, Rest and sleep is so very important. I think I have several talks about that in my recordings as well, because if you don't get good quality sleep, we're going to be miserable, and it's even very unhealthy. And science is showing that dogs have the same, it's almost the same as in humans. So if we have lack of sleep or not, good quality sleep and rest, we become grumpy. That's the least of the problems, I think. After a while, you can actually die, but that's the extreme, of course. But anything in between can actually make you sick physically if you don't get the right, good quality sleep that we need. And it's affecting everything that we do. So imagine if you have a dog that is, okay, I'm just going to take the last thing on my list, affection and companionship. We know that dogs are extremely social. We need to be social with them. We need to be with them. Dogs need to be touched or having the opportunity to choose to be close to you, maybe on your lap or laying next to you. If you don't want your dog in the sofa, then maybe you need to sit down on the floor so your dog can be next to you. Sometimes the dogs are getting too much of this from us. If they're constantly being carried, around by other people and including yourself, maybe a small dog or in a bag even, it's just too much for them. And we also know, unfortunately, hugging a dog isn't dogs. Most of the dogs, they don't really like it, but they kind of get along with it because they learn to do that. They're very flexible. But too much and too little, again, is not good. I'm sorry, I'm losing my breath now. This is a side effect from the medication I'm taking since I had the heart attack earlier this summer. So just need to take a little break. Sorry. When I get excited about something, how it goes. You get very excited, but now it's even worse when I lose my breath. Okay, so affection and companionship. You will be probably a little bit surprised if you see what I've seen during all the in-person courses I've been doing with dog owners on how many dogs that sees affection. So either just looking at your dog or even petting your dog, triumph, treats as as what is it called, when we reward the dog. A lot of dogs, they crave our attention. If you live in a household that is busy, you have kids, you're driving kids everywhere to and from whatever after school, and you are busy, people are working 9 to 5, a lot of things happening. Yes, we love our dogs, but maybe your dog isn't getting enough affection from you. Again, this is very individual, and it's all about the choice as well. So the last thing I want to say is to give your dog, the ability to make as many choices as you can give him. So now go back to the problem behavior. Imagine if you don't sleep very well. Maybe you have some issues with your health. Maybe you have some pain in your muscles. Maybe you're getting old. Arthritis is, things are happening in your body. And maybe your bed is placed in a place inside your house where there is a draft. It doesn't do anything good for your body when you're sleeping. Um, Now then, maybe the exercise that you're getting is tennis instead of going for nice, calm walks. And you don't get enough use of your brain, so you're bored, you know? These will make your behavior change, and most likely to something involving some problem behavior. So that's why it's so important that we have everything in place, all these basic needs. And that's the beauty of it. So when we have the consultations, the behavior consultations, when we go back and have a look at everything that's happening in the dog's life and maybe change a few things. Maybe it's the place the dog sleeps, maybe to give the dog more choices of where to sleep. Maybe to ask your children to stop waking your dog up when he's sleeping. Maybe it's longer walks, maybe it's slower walks, maybe, whatever it is. And the diet. A lot of times there is kind of a few things that we can do some changes to. And with doing those changes, the behavior is mysteriously just getting better in our minds, how we think it's better, because the dog is barking less, being maybe jumping less, maybe stop peeing inside, whatever it is. All of these things are going to be less because the dog is less stressed and more content with their life. They have what they need. They have their needs covered. Does that make sense? Wilma is in the background. No, the thing is that Wilma is the most lazy dog today, which is nice. I feel good about this because yesterday we went to our venue here in Norway, and Wilma did a lot of smelling, and she met a lot of people, and there was just a lot going on. So basically she had an enriched environment for all of most of yesterday. So today she's just relaxing. If you have a dog that has anxiety or fearful for anything, think about how you can help your dog feel better and less fearful, and how you can provide your dog in its own home with the best possible safe environment and nutrition, socialization, and personal care. Touching or no touching. Maybe it's too much touching. Like I said, too much or too little of everything or anything isn't very good. So we need to find the balance. And it's very much an individual dog. Not like my breed is supposed to be like this. No, no. There are individual needs within the breed. Of course there are. Have a very nice evening, everyone. And take care of yourself and your dogs. Bye.